InSpanning Gateway, and let's InSpan on the number 4 in the aspect or dimension of mind, because mind is very important, because this existence, this universe that we live within, right, is mental. We can recognize the mind in the many different forms because we know that the mind lives within our form or is a part connected to our form just as much as it is outside of us. Because everybody else, right, has their own individual mind. So we know that mind just exists, okay, and that we all have a connection to it individually based off our own individual being. So the mind is very important because this is a part of what the spirit uses in making decisions and coming to conclusions and making choices for itself and its possibilities. So when it comes to things of the mental, we know that there are many different spirits, right? We can identify that through the different life forces that are taking part in our collective environment, right? So when we can identify that, a way of connecting for us as individual beings is through consciousness, through the mind, right? Being conscious and aware, because our spirits are using the mind to be conscious and aware of things, and we can be aware of many different things, deciding on what we put our energy into. But the mind is very powerful because it is one of the operators of our being by the conclusions we come to based off of our own observations and our own life experience. So we know that information is very important when it comes to the mind, right? It's how our way of receiving, using feminine energies to receive information. And then once we understand that information can be used by spirit, and the spirit can be either negative or positive at any point in time, because that's just a matter of choice of the spirit, okay? Because we can make a quick choice. We could just be in one state of being and then the next minute be in a lower one. It's just a matter of the spirit and their behaviors and habits and the way that they act out or express their forms mentally, physically, and spiritually. So it's important for us to have a connection to knowing that when it comes to information as well, because information is a form of communication, it's a form of movement. And it's very impactful because it affects the choices and the decisions that the individual being makes just based off of information. That's why information should be observed and not just received. That's why intuiting is very important when it comes to receiving information, because there are many different belief systems. And just because someone believes something does not make it real. We have to individually understand that aspect first as a principle, as a beginning, as a point of reference before you start to receive and accept something as its exact being. And information manipulation is most potent. Information manipulation is most potent in the mental realm, right? Because it's a form of us receiving information and giving information, and not necessarily looking at the spiritual aspect of it, which is the actual being, the reason, the meaning, the purpose. Okay? Because usually if someone is passing on information, there is a meaning, reasoning, or purpose, and along with the intentions, deals with the spirit of the being or the entity, right? Because if I pass something, send you an email, I didn't physically hand you that. That's a way of passing on information spiritually. And just as much as you has implications of you receiving it in the physicality, there's also implications to you receiving that spiritually as well, because it's the way of passing information, connecting to another being, another thing, another entity, or whatever it may be. So the mental realm is very important, especially when there are holders, people that feel that they can control information. And there are people who feel that they can do that. There are beings. And if you can't perceive that, and you're unaware of the operations of spirit, right? Because spirits operate however they choose to. Okay, that's why it's up to us to know things for ourselves, right? Because of appearances, we have to have an understanding of appearances, and that this is an existence of many different appearances, because we can't necessarily see the spirit. We only see the form. So we don't get to really know the true intentions, the dark, the feminine, the spiritual aspect of a being or purpose until it is expressed in the light. But just because something in the light is expressed in the light doesn't mean that's what it is, right? Because there's a polar shift, there's an opposition to that, there's a duality to everything. Intentions, reason, purpose, meaning behind things, that's the spiritual element of things. And one would want to have both perspectives before just receiving information. This is a way to perceive information. This is form of story, principles, virtues. This is how books were written, is based off of this information. It's how the Bible was written, off of these principles. I don't know why people think God is limited to a book and words. If that's the case, then we would be words, and we actually are words. That's how we're able to give them to other people, to communicate them, because we are that. We are numbers. We are everything, but you gotta be able to perceive that. And if you can't, you're limiting spirit and possibilities, and you are unaware of your connection to your own essence and your own being. But mostly because you weren't taught, if you didn't know, if you don't know, or coming to know already, or it wasn't your time. That's just it. There's just many different reasons why. But for people who can recognize the times that we're in and how important it is for these things, and that want to have access to right information for themselves, should be able to see it through see it through the star map. It's a way that for us to be able to connect to information and knowledge, and not on belief systems. I don't understand why we're supposed to continue on believing. Like, I just feel personally, I don't need to believe in God if I know God. Right? And that'll also tell you if you don't. Can't even say that. Like, people go all crazy. Oh my God. But us spiritual beings, no. You know what I'm saying? Can't nobody tell you no different. And us spiritual beings are connected through some form of knowledge, awareness, relationship. We know who we are in our place within it.